This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And broadcasting from beautiful Sterling Heights, Michigan, I am your host, Vito Jerome Chirco, alongside my sidekick and always my partner in crime. It is the Doc, John Macaroon.
Vito, you just got me cracking up this afternoon, man. Fun day, good Tuesday. What were you up to?
You too.
What were you up to prior to coming here to the Sterling Heights office?
I was busy interviewing Justin Upton at an event there on East McNichols, and it was at the Matrix Center on East McNichols in Detroit, Michigan, and talked to Justin Upton for a little bit, and it wasn't too in-depth, wasn't too elaborate about his baseball stats or success or lack thereof, right, this year with the Tigers. More about the event and what it was for, and it was more that soar with reading through this airline company, JetBlue, which is new to Detroit Metro, the airport there. So they put on this big event to launch this initiative to have 5 separate destinations / locations for these vending machines for free books for children at 5 different locations throughout the city of Detroit. So that was the event, what it was for, and I got the chance to talk to Justin Upton, who was there as a celebrity ambassador for JetBlue and the Soar with Reading initiative that they put on today.
Oh, excellent. And how did Justin treat you? And was it a very fruitful interview? Did you feel comfortable talking to one of the highest paid Detroit Tigers?
You're right, one of the highest paid guys, but very nice, down to earth, and I liked him. I did. I don't know what I expected. I guess I didn't expect him to be as cordial with me or as down to earth, and he really was relaxed. It was a relaxed setting, and he was very relaxed and gave me some good info. It wasn't all about the Tigers or, like I said, his career or season, but more about some unique stuff regarding him and his life, like what he did in middle school. Guess what the instrument he played? What was it in middle school that he played, Justin Upton?
Skin flute?
The violin. The violin he played in middle school. Yeah, not the skin flute. What kind of skin flute are you talking about, Doc, huh? At least this is unedited, right? We can say whatever we want to, and you just did there about the skin flute of all instruments. But the real instrument that he played in middle school, from 5th grade through middle school, was the violin. Still, I was unexpecting of that answer, very much so. It surprised me. Now, did it take you by surprise a little bit, finding that out about Justin Upton, that he played the violin?
That's a very interesting nugget. No, that's very good. You know, Vito, you're a man about town. You know, I want to first give you credit for helping the network out at the Jarrod Saltalamacchia signing.
The Salty signing, yep.
It was very fun. We got a chance to, meet Jarrod Saltalamacchia, get an autographed baseball. I took my nephew. We got a chance to finally meet a couple longtime supporters of our project, and it was a very fun all-around event. We'll play a little bit of a couple audio clips that I took from the event a little bit later on in the podcast, but I just wanted to say thank you for going out there, not causing too much trouble. I know that whenever you say, hey, I'm Vito with the podcast, they're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, that's what happened kind of too.
But did you pay attention to what I told Greg, the owner? I said, look out for this guy, Vito. You're going to hear from him. You're going to know who he is.
Yep.
He's everywhere. And, on a Tuesday, you're here recording a podcast for your Tigers Talk show. And on a Monday, you're at the Jarrod Saltalamacchia signing, helping me out in Brighton. So you're a hardworking kid, and I appreciate it very much. You helped out quite a bit. And all I can say is the highest compliment is my 6-year-old nephew was saying to me, Vito's my new friend.
Yeah, I really appreciated hearing that from little Anthony. It was really cute. He really liked me. I liked hanging out with them, and it was very good. Very nice getting to know him, too, and seeing how he reacted. And I know you thought he might be even more excited than he really was. But he's a little bit shy, isn't he? But he likes the game of baseball, and he liked being there. He liked being in the element, and maybe even more around me. I think he was more starstruck by me, being as small as I am, obviously, than Jarrod Saltalamacchia himself when he met him for the signing.
When Jarrod walked in, I was like, dude, this is a country man.
He's built strong, isn't he?
He's like, we got to get his stats.
Yeah, I don't know what his intangibles are, his height and physical dimensions, because he looks huge, doesn't he?
Exactly.
When he walks in.
Yeah, he has a presence.
Yeah, he does.
And he was very friendly. He was very personable. He was a very nice man, and it was nice. And we always give thanks to our sponsors, and we thank FanaticU for allowing us to have a contest and allowing the winners to go out there and have a good time. Both winners showed up. The second winner, Scott, unfortunately got there a little bit later after we left.
So we didn't even see him because we saw Laura. Is it Laura? We met Laura. What's her name?
We met Laura.
We met Laura, yeah.
We met Laura out in the street there, and she did a little clip with us. But the VIP winner was Andrea.
We met Andrea,
and
correct.
Her
Very nice family. Husband and kid, beautiful kid, talking about how her son has autism too and couldn't be there, doesn't really like the big crowds, but great to see that she got something out of it for her son too through being there at FanaticU last night.
Yeah, Andrea is a longtime supporter. I mean, literally, when we tweet stuff out, she retweets it, she reads everything, and she's a great follower of ours. And so that's a no-brainer when we had the contest that she entered, and she's a great supporter, and we thank everybody that supports us at Detroit Podcast and everybody that made the event special, going out there to the Brighton location. And hopefully we're going to be a part of the July 17th Sunday signing with maybe great future pitcher Michael Fulmer. So it was good stuff, and I appreciate what you did. And like I said, we had a simple little goal for our email sign-up sheet, and we hit it within 15
And we got
minutes.
15 people right there on the email list, just like that, by being there and word of mouth through the two of us being there and having a presence and talking to people in that line before they went into FanaticU in Brighton. And now the Fulmer signing will be at Fraser, closer to you and I. That was a haul getting to Brighton. I didn't realize the rush hour traffic. I never take that into account properly. You warned me, though. I'll give you that much, Doc. You did definitely warn me properly ahead of time. I still had trouble, and I got there all right. I really did, like 20 minutes before. But I thought I would get there even earlier because the GPS the night before, I don't know about you with this, but the GPS told me when I GPSed it on Sunday night that it would take me 37 minutes from work, from Top Cat Sales in Royal Oak, Michigan, to get there. It wasn't 37 minutes only. Then it changed up on me. Is that based on the time and the traffic? Does it adjust for the traffic?
Yes.
I've never noticed that, though. It's never done that for me, I think, honestly.
Well,
it was weird.
And it takes into account sometimes there's accidents, and at that
was there
time,
an accident too?
And construction, and I told you that, hey, there's going to be a slowdown at this point in time, which occurred, and it's a long haul. It's still...
It is. I was surprised. I thought it'd be, like I said, 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes with traffic. It was an hour plus.
Hey, it was a long haul, but hey, we'll do anything for the followers and supporters. And we drove out to Brighton. It was good stuff.
And back to your nephew really quick. That was my greatest excitement, I think, meeting him. So you can tell him that too. And if he does listen in, and we got to get him in studio now for a recording of this Tigers Talk podcast, which is we're on episode 46 this week, by the way, Doc.
It could happen. I think he's he's
off of school now. He has free time, right? Or?
They do summer camps now. So my sister's working now, so they do the nephew's in summer camps.
So you got to bring him in now to the office during your work hours, huh?
We'll maybe make it happen. Maybe he can just take a day off and do a little bring your nephew to work kind of thing. And
there you go.
Since I'm the boss, hey, we can bring him in and see what he does. Maybe he'll just sit here and just stare at you and be like, wow.
Wow, look at this guy, mesmerized by me and my star status as the co-host of Tigers Talk. And we're on episode number 46. Already 46 weeks into Tigers Talk here on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, courtesy of Top Cat Sales and of FanaticU. And what are our other sponsors, by the way, Doc?
We definitely have a sponsorship with Fan Up Network. They support the Fantasy Nerds podcast. We're working with several new potential sponsors right now, having weekly meetings. And then we always give thanks to the Detroit Sports Nation because they host each and every podcast. And we're thankful that they've been supporting us since very early on when we started this project. And since we started this Tigers Talk project, the Tigers have been really, relatively speaking, an average ball club.
500 right now, yep.
Now, Vito, you give the Tigers a day off, and my goodness, the plethora of information that was presented by your colleagues at the Free Press, at the Detroit News, on Twitter, there has been lots of talk about the Tigers. Sitting now, as we're recording this, being 38-38, lots of talk about the starters, lots of talk about the series that was versus Cleveland, the future. I mean, wow, I literally read every single article that was put out in the last couple of days, a lot of information. I want to start off with, first, your take on the sweep. Was it that bad of a situation when you see, I believe they were outscored 22-8 in the series? Both premier top-paid pitchers, Justin Verlander and Jordan Zimmerman, get rocked. And just based on the eye test, by what people were seeing, Vito, a lot of people were very devastated by that series because you look like you didn't belong on the field with the top club right now in the AL Central.
Will they hang on, though? But let me just say this. I was there at Comerica to see Justin Verlander get bombed in the fifth inning. He made it 4 2/3 and allowed those 4 home runs in that single half inning. Miserable. So disappointed by that performance by JV when you needed a win there to salvage just one game of the 3-game set there at home at Comerica, like I said. Had to be there to witness it all. And they've lost every single game I've been to this year. Okay, let me just tell you that. And I got to believe my record as a fan now going to Comerica for Tigers games is well under 500. And in JV starts too, definitely under 500. It's like I never see him win. I'm the curse of Justin Verlander. When I go to watch a Justin Verlander start at Comerica, he never gets it done.
This is bad.
It is bad. Utterly bad. And something has to be done about it. Maybe me not going to games any longer, which I wouldn't like to see happen, though.
Well, then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I've seen him have great performances. I was there when he pitched, I believe, in the interleague game versus Arizona, and he got out to, I think, 15 to 17 strikeouts. I was there on Tuesday last week when they were winning, and he got into that pitching duel with Seattle's pitcher, and he was very effective. He gave up one really bad home run, but the Tigers scratched and clawed and came back. So I've seen different things with Justin Verlander, but yeah, when you have a series going into it and you see two of your top starters, you think you have a chance to at least get a game. But Vito, that series left a lot of people wondering, that didn't look too good, and left a lot of people shaking their heads.
Should we be sellers now? I know Bless You Boys did an article about it. Anthony Fennick just wrote about how the rotation, the pitching isn't good enough as a whole and how they need to upgrade that. Well, it took you this long into the season, Anthony Fennick, to realize that, not to call it a colleague of mine at the Free Press as he is. But realistically, I mean, we all knew that, right? The writing's been on the wall for how long about the rotation, the bullpen, everything with the pitching not being good enough to really salvage something this year in terms of contending for the division title. Right now, they're not going to be able to because of the weaknesses in their pitching, on their pitching staff as a whole, and specifically at the back end of the rotation, where you have Sanchez, who subbed in there, looked miserable. We know he's a bullpen arm, to say the least, at this point. Mike Pelfrey, what is he right now? And then, like you said, on top of all this, to make matters worse, JV and Jordan Zimmerman get beat at home against the Indians, who are in first place and have beaten us now 9 straight times this year, 9-0 against the Tigers in 2016. Not good enough if you want to actually win the division and honestly contend for a wild card spot in the AL, where there's a ton of parity. And if they just had won 4 or 5 games against the Indians up to this point, they'd be over 500, and they would probably have a wild card spot or be closer there in that race and the mix of things for the wild card. And obviously, with that being said, for the division too. So they got to start beating the Indians, and that's key now going forward. Thing is, will the Indians come down to earth a little bit? I keep saying they will, but hey, they haven't shown that against the Tigers. But first half success doesn't always carry over to second half success too against the ball club. Remember that too.
And remember, Vito, we didn't even face Corey Kluber in that series. You didn't even, like I said.
But we faced Salazar. We faced Tomlin, who's been really good. 9 wins this year. Better than JV. He outperformed JV. And who would have expected that 2-3 years ago that Tomlin would beat JV head-to-head? And then JV would be the guy to let up those 4 home runs in a single frame.
So whereabouts were you sitting at Comerica Park? And did you have a good vantage point of the bombs that were leaving, I believe, in the 5th inning?
My buddies don't like watching baseball. I told you about that. So we went to the jungle, and we were watching it on the TV, actually, at that point. And it wasn't even bad yet. It was 2-2. But we left soon after that because they wanted to get going. So I'll tell you the truth. I did not stay the whole entire game. So you can make fun of me now as the host of this podcast.
I can't. Vito, are you serious? You didn't even stick around for the entire game?
The entirety of that crap fest? Well, it is bad, but that was a crap fest. I mean, JV got poured on with a lot of crap. And it was embarrassing for the Tigers to get swept like that and not have a win against your rival in the division, who's in first place. That's why they are where they are. They let the Indians off the hook in so many words, too. And you said that you think the Tigers are just who some people thought they are. I mean, Denny Green, I try to say about Denny Green what he said. He had a really good line there, Doc, and you talked about it. And really, at this point, I think they are who you thought they were going into the season. Is that true? Can we say that much, that right now you're thinking the same way that you did going into the year about the Tigers?
Yeah, it's just frustrating in that you've seen when they were playing well what they could accomplish, on the baseball field. They could mash the hell out of the baseball. You've seen a week where, I know Seattle's not lighting the world on fire, but the bullpen was able to come out with less than a 1 ERA. But when you look at it in totality, it's kind of a relatively simple situation in what you're seeing. The starters haven't been effective. The defense hasn't been great. And like your colleagues have said in the paper, maybe potentially you've made some mistakes, in terms of who you signed. You let go of Rajai Davis, and he signs a 1-year deal out there in Cleveland for $5 million. He's got 21 stolen bases. He's got great defensive numbers. You bring in Cameron Maben. He's doing okay, but...
Maben's doing really well, hitting 300.
But Rajai Davis can play a lot of outfield positions. Maybe instead of signing Justin Upton for that massive contract, you allow him to change and play where Justin Upton plays, and you have Rajai Davis and Cameron Maben. And maybe the thinking is that, you know what, you let go of a guy that didn't really require a big commitment, and this is a guy, Rajai Davis, that, ironically makes the key play to end the series. He has that juggling catch. And
got lucky.
He got lucky, and he was relatively productive in that series. Whereas you look at, maybe the guy that you met earlier today, Justin Upton.
I can't bash him. I met him. He's a good guy. No, I'm joking. We got to be real here. And the truth is, he has struggled at times.
He went 1 for the series. I think 1 for whatever the amount of at-bats that he had. I think 1 for 10 or 1 for whatever. But he wasn't relatively effective in that series. So baseball-wise, you go, did you really bring in the guys, that need to really help us in the bullpen and in the starting rotation? I mean, Pelfrey, 2 years, $16 million. Sanchez, how he's been used now.
Sanchez is who we thought he was, though. And by the way, Denny Green did say they were who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. He did say that. Denny Green did. But anyways, I think we're thinking, too, right now, I think Rajai Davis, I know what we're thinking right now about his success early on here, but it's a small sample size. We can't get carried away with his success so far. And on the base paths, that is great, but will he keep it up to get on base, to steal bases? That's the thing, too. And Maben is hitting above 300. Now, he's come down to earth a little bit in recent memory, but I still will take Maben over Rajai Davis because Davis, is 35. Cameron Maben's younger than Rajai Davis, remember, too. So I'd rather have Maben right now than Rajai Davis going forward this year. And see, the thing is, some of those guys are due for a little bit of a decline in the Indians lineup. Napoli is, who's older, so is Davis. And they are what we consider aging vets. They really are that. Maben isn't that. And Justin Upton, who has struggled, I know he has struggled mightily, but now he's my buddy. Now throw that out the window. But he's younger. He's in his prime. Davis, Napoli aren't. That's why I see Davis doing negatively, going downhill a little bit at least in the second half of the year. And that's why the Indians are due for a decline themselves at the ball club, because he's doing a lot to get the offense started. He's at spark right now because of his speed on the base path, Doc. So I'm just saying, I'm warning all you guys right now that are praising Rajai Davis and what he's done to remember what he did with the Tigers. He had some good streaks with the Tigers, too. Maybe not a great first half entirely like he almost has now to this point with the Indians, but we saw some flashes of brilliance with him in a Tigers uni, too. He never kept it up for a full season, remember, with the bat. So, or even on the base paths, and you can't project him for 40 steals at his age. I know some guys have done it, but they really are exceptions, like a Ricky Henderson who did it 38, 39, 40 years old. Those guys that stole a ton of bases when they were that old, that doesn't happen very often. So Davis, I'm just saying, is due for a decline at least a little bit in the second half, Doc.
Well, and, another talking point is the starting rotation just, in terms of their overall ERA has been bloated. They're full 1 run more in terms of their ERA than Cleveland, and you can't win like that. You cannot win when your starters, in a week where you need them, go 4 innings, 5 innings. Daniel Norris didn't do that well. Sanchez is getting bombed early in his return, back to the starting rotation. You can't have that, Vito. You can't have that. That will not get you where you need to go when your starters can't go past 6 innings. And the only guy that you look to now is Fulmer, and you're starting the process now of saying, okay, we want him to go 170 innings, where already he's at 80. So they're starting the process of limiting him. So it's going to be interesting in that right now, Fulmer's the guy that we need to kind of, keep riding his success, because he's been really the lone bright spot so far among the starters.
You got to keep riding. The thing is, it's about the pitching, innings limit. It's about how many innings do we throw him the rest of the way. Will there be a cap on his innings? And there might be with Fulmer.
Do you agree? Because he's young.
You want to preserve him for the future. Teams do that. They don't want to get these guys injured and then have long-term repercussions that affect this guy and the rotation subsequently, too, because of an arm injury when they are so young, as Fulmer is right now, fresh out of the minors. So I say because it is his first year in the majors, and because the Tigers right now are a 500 ball club, you might have to rest him at the end of the season and give him that innings limit, where you do rest him then down the stretch because of that innings limit coming into effect, Doc. And you know what, Sanchez, Pelfrey, they are who we thought they were, okay? They really are, and those guys are the reason why the rotation has struggled to a large degree, not because of Zimmerman's struggles of late or JV getting bombed on Sunday against the Indians. And you know what? It was a bad start. I'm not going to let JV off the hook, because he can't be doing that against the Indians, who aren't a great lineup. And in 1/2 inning, that was horrible from a guy who has been your ace and now is a great number 2 and can be your ace at times. So, but that was his worst start. 8 earned runs, I believe it was there. He's got to get back on track, and more importantly, Zimmerman does. Zimmerman has struggled more than JV of late on a consistent basis. So Zimmerman has to be that consistent number 1, number 2 caliber arm at the top of the rotation along with JV, or this rotation is going to be befuddling and miserable as a whole 1 through 5 all year long. And that means they're not going to even come close to contending if that's the case, Doc.
See, Vito, I would argue there is room for hope with the Tigers this week in that you got a 2-game stint at home versus the Marlins. Then you're going out on the road against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
But then next week is when it gets a little bit tougher. So you got a situation where you can have some faith that the Tigers can get back in it as long as they get through, their 5 starters and have some success. You could do some damage against, Miami and Tampa Bay. But, of course...
Etro, though. Hey, look, you can't stop Etro right now. At 42, by the way. But no, they should be able to salvage something against the Miami Marlins and at home where they were doing so well. Remember, they beat Seattle 4 straight games. That was great. Great sign of things to come, right? Then they had a letdown, big-time letdown series against the division rival Indians. And now they got to rebound. I think they can against the Marlins, though. And against the Rays, they got to pick up things, too, against some. Now, on the road, where it's harder to win, and maybe they won't succeed on the road going forward, too. But against the Rays, who are a middling ball club right now at 32-41 or something, so way under 500, they got to take advantage of those series and beat those teams in those 3-game sets or 4-game sets. 3 out of 4 and 2 out of 3. They got to take advantage and do that, or they're going to falter more and more as the season goes along. So it's not only beating the Indians more head-to-head, but those kind of teams that they should take advantage of as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to potentially the Tigers rebounding and playing a lot better brand of baseball. Cleveland's the class right now of the AL Central. I do believe that the Tigers are going to retool, add to this ball club. They're going to have to, but let's just see what their thinking is in terms of what they're going to do by the trade deadline. They still got to, before the All-Star break, they got some rough series ahead. Another series versus Cleveland, KC, I believe,
Indians.
after.
I know, Indians coming up again, and KC is still there. But you know what? They're going to claw their way back into business at the top of the division, in my opinion. I know I'm the optimist, but I got to keep being that because, hey, you haven't been as much of the optimistic guy here on the podcast, surprisingly. But like you know what? I'll give you this much. You have stuck to your beliefs about the Tigers since day one. And before the season on our podcast, every single episode, you had mentioned how you thought the Tigers would be around 500, even more than I thought. So I'll give you that much credit about what you thought about the Tigers going into this year and still sticking to that viewpoint as well, Doc.
The good thing is the Tigers aren't hopeless. They have options.
And they're not hapless. They're not hopeless. That is right.
Right now, they're underperforming.
Yep.
And so that's a big difference. And with 1 or 2 moves, maybe, if they get the right combination of starters and the collection of bullpen talent, then maybe you could see a resurgence in that offense and get JD back, which looks like now is desperately needed.
Which we haven't even talked about, right? And they do need his back because Upton is back to being J-Up of old at the start of the year where he didn't hit to save his life. So, he's got to hit. They got to get JD back, and a few things have to happen. But what I know that's in store right now, at least that I can say on this podcast, is that varsity baseball head coach Matt Cook of De La Salle High School is coming on right after this quick commercial break here on Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. Vito Chirco here for Top Cat Sales. Looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Then look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan quarterback John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the very highest quality and the very best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going online to TopCatTeamSales.com. Once again, Top Cat Sales' website is TopCatTeamSales.com. And also remember to follow Top Cat Sales on Twitter at Team Top Cat. And now joining me on Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company is De La Salle Varsity Baseball head coach and now state champion, Matt Cook. How's it going, Coach Cook?
Hey, everything's going well. Things have been going great around De La Salle lately, and winning a state championship definitely helps that out.
And now you're the big man on campus, huh?
Well, I don't know about that, but it feels pretty good right now. I know that's for sure. Well,
let me first say good for you guys. Congrats to you as well, you and the squad at De La Salle.
Well, thank you. We've had a lot of support and a lot of alumni like you coming back and wishing us best. So it's been a good thing.
So, Coach, let's get right into it and the state title game that happened. As you know, Saline was trailing by a run with 1 out in the top of the 7th and had runners on first and third with Sean O'Keefe at the plate. who had already homered in the game. But then the Saline runner on first attempted a steal to second and executed, giving you the opportunity to intentionally walk O'Keefe, which I know you gladly took then. So let me ask you, did you think about giving O'Keefe the free pass before the stolen base?
It was one of those things where we wanted to throw to him and try to get him to roll over one. And his first at bat of the game, he had a ground ball, and we know doesn't have the greatest wheels in the world, so we were hoping for a double play right then and there. We had already kind of conceded the run at third base at that point, and we were hoping to get a ground ball out of him, and that was it. But then when they chose to steal the base, it was kind of a no-brainer for us to put him on. And I understand Coach Tyson's point of view, get that lead run on second base, but for us, knowing that O'Keefe could really do some damage, put a ball in the gap, hit a ball over the wall, we just knew we had to put him on first base and hopefully get a force out on the next to the next hitter. But then luckily enough, he hit a sharp hit ground ball right at our second baseman, and it was kind of a tailor-made double play for us. So it worked out for us in the end. It's kind of one of those baseball things where it could completely backfire. You could walk the next batter, and next thing you know, game's tied with them not even getting a hit. But it worked out for us this time. It's just that's how baseball is. Sometimes you take a gamble, and we took a gamble, and it worked out in our favor.
Coach Matt Cook from Salle Varsity Baseball on Tigers Talk with me right now. And, Coach, how nervous were you protecting a one-run lead in the final inning of a state title game?
Actually, the last couple innings, and I don't know if it's just the attitude of our guys that we have and kind of the resilience that we have, but the last couple innings, I was pretty calm myself. I know that there were probably a ton of nerves up in the stands. Obviously, I would have liked to see a 1, 2, 3, 7th, but anytime that you have the lead, you feel a little bit better than the other team. That's kind of how I felt in that last inning. We just tried to put our guys in the best position, but for whatever reason, I myself kind of felt a calm in the last couple innings, which I don't know how, but I just did, and I think that has a lot to do with our guys and their resilience.
So, Coach, how great was the moment when you saw the game-ending double play be turned, and you knew that you had won your first ever state championship?
Yeah, it was a lot of emotions kind of come to your head, when you see that double play being turned. But the one thing that I want to do is watch our guys dogpile on the field. So as soon as we had that last out, that was my focus, is watch those guys celebrate, because all winter long we know how much work we put into it, how much time and effort that we put into things, and so it was good to see the boys celebrating. That's kind of what it's all about at that point, just to watch them and their joy and their celebration. We have 5 seniors. To see those guys go out on top, to say that they won their last high school baseball game, that's a pretty cool thing. Only 4 groups of seniors in the entire state got to say they did that this year. And, we had five seniors, and they won their last baseball game. I just wanted to see them celebrate.
And then how about the success of your sophomores in the state finals, too? All these guys coming to perform and contributing in a big fashion. You had Easton Sikorsky, Bryce Bush, Nino Puckett. All these guys really contribute to get it done in the state final game for you and De La Salle. I mean, how crucial were those guys and all throughout the postseason tournament, too, Coach?
Yeah, it's kind of unique to have a young group of guys, be this successful. Usually it kind of takes a couple of years for them to, mature and grow up. But, I've told people time and time again, I think a lot of the reason why they matured so quickly was because of our seniors. We had a real focused group of seniors. Like I said, a small group, only 5 guys. And they were pretty determined, and they were pretty focused, and they knew those young kids were very, very talented. And every day at practice, every game, they knew it was their job and their role to keep those kids focused. Another thing, when you have a young group like that, they play loose, they play relaxed, because they don't feel the pressure on them that usually upperclassmen do. So it was kind of a good mix of kids, the seniors along with, the sophomores, and, we have some juniors that provided some pivotal playing time for us this year too. So it was a good combination. Now, looking forward, it's great to see, it's great for our future to also see a lot of sophomores too.
And that means repeating, right? You guys are bound to do it. And to win 2 more, it sounds like. Not just 1 more, but 2 more.
Well, I think, we might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit there. But, but we, we like this group. We like this, the sophomore class. Next year, seniors, the current juniors that are going to be seniors next year, they're outstanding too. That's another small class, only 3 of them. But, we like what we see next year, but every year brings a different challenge. So next year's dynamic will be different. The seniors are gone. There's going to be new kids and that are going to be coming on the team too. So, next year will have its own set of challenges and it'll be its own dynamic. But, I like this, I like the teams moving forward too. So, talking about repeating, I think it's a little early for that because we got to kind of see, how kids develop. We got to see, if we continue to get better, if those things happen, then, we play good ball and things will take care of itself. But, let's just wait and see.
Yeah, let's do that. I agree. Even as an alum, I agree with that being said. And it is De La Salle Varsity Baseball Manager Matt Cook on the line with me on episode number 46 of Tigers Talk. And, Coach, what will you remember about this state title team?
I think from an early point, people would ask me how they thought we were going to be this year because we lost a lot of innings on the mound from the year before. And I said, you know what, I'm not sure, what our record's going to be, but you're going to like this team. I would tell people that all winter long. I was like, I don't know if we're going to be a state champion. I don't know if we're going to lose in the districts. I don't know. But all I know is you're going to like this team. This is a tough team. They're good kids. They gel together. They were fun to be around. And I think that's going to be my best memory is not exactly everything they did on the field, although that was really good too, but also just the way that they treated each other, the way they acted around each other, their effort in the weight room, their dedication, and just a fun group to be around. And that was something I could tell from day one. I didn't know we'd be state champions, but just they were a good group of kids.
And, Coach, because this is Tigers Talk, I've got to ask you about the Tigers and get your outlook now for the club going forward this year in the AL Central. What do you see happening from the Tigers?
Oh, well, they got to figure out a way to beat the Indians. 0-9 against the first-place team isn't a good start. I know in pro baseball in any division, college, high school, whatever it is, you got to beat the teams in your division if you want to move forward and keep playing. And that's not the case right now with them against the Indians. So they got to figure out a way to beat them. 0-9 isn't a good thing. And with the Indians, with the pitching staff they have, I like them. I like them in the Central.
Now, can the Tigers heal, though, their Achilles heel, which is their pitching as a whole?
I think they got some good pieces. Verlander's start on Sunday wasn't very good, but he's been throwing some good baseball over the last month. Fulmer, he's been a real bright spot. I like what I see there. So I think that they'll continue to get pitching. It's just they've had a roller coaster of a year. They'll play great for 2 series and really bad for another. So if they can somehow start to be consistent, then I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay.
Coach Matt Cook from De La Salle Varsity Baseball, I'll let you go with that. Thank you very much for all your time, and best of luck to you as well going forward, too, at De La Salle.
Vito, it's always good to catch up with you. Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Continue to do the good work.
Thank you very much, and same to you. I'll talk to you.
Vito, how excited are you? You're an alumni of De La Salle, and they won a state title. Did you catch any games?
I followed some of it on Twitter. More of that than I never even went to a game this year. And I you know what? I got to honestly say this. I haven't been back to De La Salle for a baseball game. I've been back for a football game. I've been back for a basketball game. And I helped out with the basketball team at De La Salle, too, under Coach Essler. And was there, my 4 years. I'm a proud alum. I like going back. I like... Well, maybe one day donating some money. They have a lot of boosters right now, so they're financially fine. Trust me, they don't need my money right now. But maybe one day doing that and maybe, being around more for the baseball team because right now they're looking good for the future, too. So not only winning this year and beating Saline. What was that about, Dad? Come on. What don't you like about what I just said? No. Come on, interrupting me? No. But De La Salle Varsity Baseball, under the leadership of Matt Cook, I really like what they're doing. Obviously, winning a state title, I'm very proud as an alum of De La Salle. And I would like to see now what the heck this team is going to be able to do going forward with such a young class of players. They're really underclassmen laden. They really are, like I talked about with Coach Cook on the line when he was on the line with me, about their sophomores, the strength of their sophomores. Easton Sikorsky, Nino Puckett. This guy, Nino Puckett, can throw it hard. He's like a Joel Zamaya, but without the command right now. But he's a sophomore, so he'll grow into form probably and gain that command. If he does, he'll be lights out as a starting pitcher, as a relief pitcher too. And he got the final out. He recorded the save in that win, the state title game in D1 against Saline, and the Pilots held on in a very close matchup there. Highly contested game, holding on to win that one 2 Saturdays ago, 7-6. So exciting times for De La Salle, and maybe not as exciting times, though, for the Tigers. As Matt Cook said himself, he's not very optimistic either. And you know what? I know, Doc, trust me, I know it's hard to be optimistic right now, and you've been the pessimist all season long, but I give you credit once again, rightfully so. You've been since day one and before the season started about the Tigers.
Listen, I'm not pessimistic.
And it's more of the being the realist, right? Than I am, I guess.
Call it like you see it, and that's just my opinion. My opinion was that I didn't feel like the bullpen was as improved as people thought that they would be. And I felt like, you know what, Justin Upton had a lot of question marks, and that he was a streaky hitter. He was a sexy signing, and that he would get a lot of home runs. And he basically, the way I categorized it was, he was a guy that maybe Illich wanted to sign to put butts in the seats. But unfortunately right now, and a topic that I want to bring up is, do you think the fans have kind of said, you know what, we realize that this team isn't maybe a title contender? Their attendance, in the last 5 years never dipped to below 9th. And now, right now, as we're recording this, the attendance this year in 2016 is 14th. So attendance is a little bit down. The crowds that I've seen have been okay and boisterous, but they just aren't as vast, because I really think that the fans, are really starting to realize that you could have an era, just like England, the soccer team, a golden era of talent that doesn't do nothing. You get to the postseason a couple times, you make a run, you get to the World Series a couple times, but you don't win a World Series with Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander in their prime. That's something to complain. That's something to really shake your head at. And when you really look at it as a whole, you had a rotation at one point in time in history of Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, David Price, and you weren't able to have deep postseason success with that in combination with Victor Martinez and Miguel Cabrera. Now you're looking like, oh boy, if you can't win with a couple of surefire Hall of Famers on your team, it's going to be maybe a decade or more before we even see a ring, if possible, if at all.
I think people more and more have succumbed to selling, to that state of mind about the Tigers, that they're not going to win, like you said. So I agree with your point there about the Tigers fan base as a whole. Not that I'm a part of that fan base right now that has thought they should sell. But a fanboy website, such as Bless You Boys, the SB Nation Tigers blog, is even admitting it now with an article that just came out recently. That tells you right there, that's a fan site. I know they have some journalistic integrity too, but them coming out and saying that, I think, admits to the large mass of fans that are out there as Tigers fans that this is a time to maybe start thinking about selling once again for a second straight campaign, which is obscene, right? It's foreign to us right now after all the success they've accumulated until last year. 4 straight division titles until 2015, and now maybe 2 straight campaigns of selling at the trade deadline.
And being right at 500 at this point in time is just a tough spot to be in, because I think, your colleague at the Free Press had said that in the last 2 years, they had only been around 500 like 13 times, and right now they've been 500, relatively speaking, quite a bit this year. They've been at 500.
Well, that's why you can't. I hate people that just assume that they're going to sell or that the season is over with. As people did, remember, people thought it was over with when they lost 7 straight, when they lost 11 or 13. What did people want? And I did myself. I'll admit it. I wanted Brad Ausmus fired, but I never said the team was done. I never admitted that, and I never thought that would be the case. And the team wasn't done. Remember, it went on a good stretch there, where it won some games in a row. So they can accumulate the winning streaks, but they also, the unfortunate thing about the Tigers right now is that they're accumulating losing streaks. They've been so inconsistent because of those batches of losing and winning streaks piled up.
So now we've diagnosed the problem, the pitching.
And we've diagnosed that for how many weeks? I mean, that's like not even a talking point anymore at this point.
Is there a pill we can give them to fix this problem, fix our ailments?
Well, besides for destroying the team as it is, well, you got to just trade for pieces, trade for arms. That's the diagnosis, or not the diagnosis, but the remedy for it. That's what you have to do, and I think they still will. They're not going to sell at this point. Now, I don't know. Let me ask you, do you honestly think right now the Tigers are going to sell? If this was at the trade deadline right now, if we were at July 31st, will the Tigers sell right now?
I want them to, but zero chance they sell.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be even harder now to do it because they did it last year, remember, too.
You can't flush $200 million salaries down the toilet. But just the one trade proposal I threw out to Jason in an earlier podcast.
Let's hear it.
Okay, a team that's struggling out east, the New York Yankees, have a couple arms they might be looking to shop.
I know who you like.
Andrew Miller and
Aroldis Chapman.
Aroldis Chapman.
Yep.
So would you make this deal?
Give me it.
A combination potentially of Ian Kinsler, Victor Martinez for both those arms?
No.
Too much?
Did he laugh at you? What did Jason say, actually? I want to know now.
He said a combination of that and a prospect. Maybe he'd consider it.
So wait, time out. Give me this again. You said Kinsler and Vmart. Your proposal was Vmart and Kinsler straight up?
Straight up.
Oh, my God. The Yankees, I'm not going to say they would do it right away, but they would do it. They would do it. You know why? You're getting a second baseman who's valuable in terms of defense and offense right now. I know he's older and Vmart's aging. They might not like Vmart, by the way. You might have to get rid of Vmart, but they'll take Kinsler. They probably would take Kinsler straight up for Miller because really at second base, they no longer have Robinson Cano, don't you know, there. So I'm thinking the Yankees would highly consider it.
But that would be a shift in the style of play and that you go towards a more
But they can't hit.
pitching.
I mean, who's going to hit at second base? They went through this song and dance before. Remember when they got rid of Polanco? Who started then? Scott Sizemore. They tried Ryan Rayburn, who couldn't field there to save his life. They know they love Kinsler. They know they got to stick it out with him now.
Okay, so Kinsler we're going to keep.
Vmart they would trade, but the thing is, you got to remember it's about both sides agreeing upon it. And the Yankees probably wouldn't want Vmart because right now, if they look at the writing on their wall, it's looking like they're not going to make the playoffs. So why would they want Vmart's contract at 37, not years young for Vmart either, years old because of all the injuries that have piled up?
So you're saying the Doc's thesis and trade proposal is bunk and garbage.
Totally invalid.
It's fine. It's fair.
But I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, straight up.
So if you're going to make a move, let's say I want both.
Yeah.
In my shopping cart, I want to click on Chapman and Miller.
Oh, my God. It's going to take a ton.
A ton? Like what?
Yeah, you would have to give up Joe Jimenez for sure. And I don't even know what else. They might want even more than that. Like, he's the top prospect in that deal, but they might even consider, hey, you got to give me Daniel Norris and Joe Jimenez. Tigers wouldn't do that because they're not good enough. They're good, but not good enough to make that deal. They would have to be one or two pieces away from winning a World Series to make that deal.
Now,
and they're not. They know that themselves.
Now, I threw out that trade kind of with the thought that, you know what, as a fan myself, I realize I look around and I go, it's kind of one of those things where if you subtract from this team, it's going to hurt them too much. And you can't just go out there and give away a prospect because, you know, you have to have a willing trade partner. So that's why I think a lot of people are kind of feeling like now how I'm feeling, you know, based on what you're telling me, it's a dead end.
I'll say this much.
No one's going to just give you an arm and just say, hey, here you go.
No, arms are valuable, man. They're a valuable commodity. They're the most valuable commodity in all of baseball because they don't grow on trees and they get hurt and then they're done. So I'm going to say this, too. I would consider trading, or at least I would have at this point, would have considered trading J.D. Martinez if he was healthy and if Upton was hitting and if you knew Moya could provide offense on a consistent basis in the corner outfield spot.
Okay.
But you can't rely on that. But if you could, you would trade J.D., and you know what? J.D. would bring upon a lot of arms that you need, valuable arms, too, that are young. Because they need the youth in the back end of the rotation. They don't need any more Mike Pelfreys. They don't need any more Anibal Sanchez's. They don't. But the thing is, what are you going to give up now, Doc? I mean, we just hit that dead end. Big time dead end, by the way. But I know you would like Andrew Miller, and you know what? The Tigers could use him still. Now, their bullpen has improved. I know people don't believe it, but I think it'll show more signs of it as the season goes along, too. It's better than last year. But if you wanted to get Andrew Miller, I don't even know if they have the pieces necessary that they would want to give up. So I think they have the pieces, but they wouldn't be willing to give up Jimenez. And I think still it would take more than that. And for me, it's more about the Tigers' rotation than getting a big bullpen piece. I would think they might get a secondary pen piece to upgrade the back end of the pen or the middle innings, where I think they have a bigger issue in the middle innings. So that is not what Andrew Miller would solve, or Aroldis Chapman. And Chapman would take way too many prospects. I think Chapman's going to demand, they're going to demand more for Chapman. So that's totally off the table. Now, Miller is almost totally off the table, too. But I think you have to give up Joe Jimenez, who I think, you know what, just insert him into your own pen. You got him right now. Let him shine. He's already shining at AA. I know it's AA, not AAA. But if you want to win this year, I think he provides you, I've said this before, with the best chance to win right now by calling him up instead of having guys like Lane Hardy or Kyle Ryan. Don't you agree on that? I mean, Kyle Ryan's done all right of late. I get that, and I'll give him credit for that. But really, you're going to rely upon Kyle Ryan and a struggling Alex Wilson in the middle innings instead of Joe Jimenez, who has shown signs of life on all his pitches and huge velocity consistently. He is that Joel Zumaya from 06. So call him up if you want to win. Remember, the Tigers won a lot in 06 because of the strength of youngsters like Zumaya and JV who threw hard. So call up Jimenez. It is time. I'm saying right now, if I were to call up Brad Ausmus and Al Avila today, I would tell them, first thing I would tell them on the phone call is you got to call up Joe Jimenez if you want to win this year. You're not going to win without him. I'm going to say that right now. You're not going to win without Joe Jimenez. I'm going to make that bold of a claim. I know it's bold, but they're not going to win without Joe Jimenez.
Why is Brad Ausmus kind of, squashing the fans' desire and bringing him up? He's kind of saying, like,
well, I think it's more of the front office. So he's squashing it because the front office has told him it's not going to happen. So who even knows if Ausmus really wants him or not?
It's not going to happen. So I think he's too young, and they don't want to rush his development, maybe hurt his confidence.
They want to win. Forget about the development. I mean, what is the truth? I would like to know. They're going to tell you they want to win, But I wonder what the real mindset is of Al Avila right now. They spent a lot of money on this ball club, like we both talked about. Do they really want to win?
Are you questioning
if they do, you gotta
the general manager of the Detroit Tigers?
I'm calling out everybody today. I'm not livid, but I'm a little bit PO'd. At Avila, what his mindset is. I want to know what it is. He's not going to reveal it to us because he's just going to tell us the commonsensical answer, right? The plain answer, vanilla answer, which is we want to win this year. Who doesn't want to win? But what is the real mindset? I mean, what do you honestly think? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid that they want to win?
I kind of
have. I'll admit that.
They're taking a wait-and-see approach. They want to see how this develops. They're still tinkering with the rotation, and they're seeing what can work among the top 5. They still believe in they believe in Zimmerman and Verlander and Fulmer, and they just got to figure out 4 and 5. They're tinkering quite a bit with the bullpen, but it has had success. And I do believe that they're trying to wait and see what's going to happen when JD comes back, how that offense is going to look, and then you can see that if they're going to play a waiting game with Upton and see if he turns it around. If not, if things stay the same, then you're going to look at a situation in which they're going to have to tinker a little bit. And I guess just how we're speculating about it. Nobody's safe. Outside of potentially Fulmer, outside of Castellanos, outside of, you could say Kinsler, those 3 guys.
I say honestly.
That's it. No, everyone else is expendable.
Kinsler isn't safe either. It's just for that trade that I shot down. I'm sorry I shot it down so quick.
Yeah, but when you made your point, But
it makes sense, right, what I said. Who's going to replace him? But if they're not going to win, once again, what's the mindset? Because if they're not going to win this year, not trying to win, then you trade Kinsler. Then it doesn't matter as much what you're getting at the major league level in replacement of Kinsler. That's the thing. But if you care about the replacement and the level of production you're getting from his replacement, then you don't move Kinsler because you have nobody else to play second base in a superb or efficient fashion enough to start at second in place of Kinsler.
And he's been an utter superstar. And
he's really, a superstar of the team right now, right?
Do you believe that, again, another sign that the fans are a little bit down? I don't even think he's in the top 5 of AL All-Star voting.
Well, because Omar Infante was there and he got DFA'd. How ludicrous and laughable was that? Like, because you're a Royal now, you get all this magnificent, praise and all the honors and acclaim of getting voted into the All-Star game, even when you're not even hitting, and he got cut? I mean, now he's out of the All-Star game. He can't start in the All-Star game without a team. We know that at least. But, how did that happen? There's stuff in the ballots, man. Again.
It's nice. We talked about last year, too. It's funny, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they did it last year, and they were really good last year, though. This year, they're not even that great. Mm-hmm. They're right there with the Tigers, and they're still getting a guy like Omar Infante into the All-Star game.
So go out there and vote Tigers.
Please.
As they talked about at FanaticU, they were like, did you vote for a Tiger All-Star?
That's a guy you have to vote for. If you're going to vote for anybody, honestly, forget Miguel Cabrera, right? Forget Miguel, forget everybody else in that lineup. You got to vote for Ian Kinsler. He is that great two-way player, and there are not many two-way players. That's, once again, why they would not deal him for Andrew Miller. So, anyways, I wanted to say, you told me the guys that you think aren't expendable, right? You gave me Fulmer, Kinsler, and who?
Castellanos.
I think Castellanos they would even deal, by the way, for the right package, but they're not going to deal Fulmer. They're not going to deal young, quality starting arms. And I think that means even a relief arm like Jimenez. It would take a lot to deal Jimenez. But for sure, they're not going to deal Fulmer. And I still don't think they're going to deal Cabrera, by the way. He's that legendary guy who they want to retire as a Tiger. Don't you think that? They're not going to deal him for anything. He's still hitting.
That's the way it looks, right?
Yeah, I think so. And with that big of a contract, it's a bloated contract where he's not even worth it anymore. And nobody is, truly. I've even talked about it before, like Clayton Kershaw, when he gets paid and he's gotten paid, he's not even worth all that money. Is he realistically? Steven Strasburg's not worth all that money that he got paid recently. A lot of these big-name guys, and Bryce Harper, we talked about it last week on episode 45 of Tiger Talk. Harper's not going to be worth the $500 million in totality that he maybe gets paid. That's ludicrous money. I don't care how good you are, and Harper hasn't even been that good in the last month with the power production or all-around production. So nobody's worth that money, but you got to pay to keep superstars nowadays. You got to pay ludicrous amounts like they did with Cabby. When they kind of gave him all this money because he has been a superstar in the past. It's a legacy contract. That's what Pujols got, remember, with the Halos. That's what Verlander got with the Tigers. And they're no longer going to be worth that money, but you had to do it and just bite the bullet. And now the thing is, would you trade JV back to who's expendable and who's not, Doc?
Yes, of course you trade JV.
I would too. But the thing is, it'll take a lot. And do they consider him another legacy guy like a Cabrera, where they want him to retire as a Tiger? That's a hard decision in that respect.
It's a very tough decision now. It's that fine line of, adding pieces, but you don't want to hurt your team when you make a trade. And, if you trade JV, it might be probably the ultimate sign that you're giving up.
That would be. And is that too much a PR backlash, too, you think, from fans that you would receive?
And in that locker room, you trade off
Yeah,
JV.
That's your leader of the rotation. I mean, Zimmerman might be the better all-around pitcher right now, but who's been there since 2006? The only guy since '06 is JV. He has seen it all, been through the good and bad now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to keep him. You got to keep Cabby. I mean, you don't have to keep Verlander, but they're going to keep Verlander. And I think you have to keep Cabby. And then you have to keep Fulmer. I don't think you even have to keep Castellanos, like I said. And then after that, who would they keep? I don't think even Kinsler is totally safe. But if you want to win for sure, you do not move Kinsler. And he might be at the top of the list of guys that you don't trade if you want to win, even more than Cabby, because of Kinsler's two-way production this year.
Okay, so I'm thinking that the fans are a little bit skeptical. As you can see now, even Coach said that, we all got eyes on Cleveland like, wow, what a team. The way their start has been unbelievable. What are they going to do? Because they might make a couple moves. The AL Central looks like it's relatively easy to take if they just played a little bit better, that it doesn't look that challenging. But if you go out there and you get dominated by Cleveland, you had no chance.
That's why they're in first place.
But you've seen them come back from 7 to 9 games back, relatively speaking. It's still relatively early. There is a chance for them to come back. And at the signing with Jarrod Saltalamacchia, we spoke to a lot of positive fans that said they were going to stick with the Tigers. And I'd like to play a couple of the clips that we kind of collected. It was very interesting. The line was, rather long early. People got there and were waiting in line. So Vito and I got out there and cut some audio and met the people. Got out there, and Vito was, very excited. He was telling everybody about the flagship show. Doc and Jock was telling everybody about the network to sign him up. And here's a couple clips that we got. Have a listen to a couple of the supporters of the Detroit Sports Podcast. Doc here with Matt. We're at the Jarrod Saltalamacchia signing out here at FanaticU in Brighton. Matt, what's going on?
Not much. Excited to meet Jarrod.
Yeah, you seem to be out here about an hour early. What made you come out here for the Jarrod Saltalamacchia signing?
I mean, I've never been here for a live signing for any player ever. I mean, anywhere. So I just wanted to make sure I got here nice and early. Definitely wanted to be here today.
What did you bring for him to sign?
Nice big Detroit D poster here. Wanted them to sign for it. Sign it right in the D. Hang it up in the apartment. Look nice and sweet.
Yeah, very good. And so right now, the Tigers pretty much 500 team. You still sticking with them, or are you losing a little bit of faith based on that struggle with the Indians?
I mean, it's rough, but I mean, I'm always a Tigers fan. This is my favorite time of year, watching Tigers. Then, gotta love them. All
right, Matt. You stick with the Tigers. Look forward to the signing, and thanks for being on the podcast.
All right, thank you.
Doc here with Pam and Jesse. They're here at the FanaticU signing with Detroit Tiger Jarrod Saltalamacchia. Thank you guys for agreeing to chat with me on the podcast.
You're very welcome. No problem.
What brought you guys out here for the signing today?
Love of Tigers and appreciation for Salty's beginning with the Tigers and the great work he's doing.
I used to be a catcher, so I really look up to any Tigers catchers.
Now, this is your mother?
Yes.
Okay, now you said that your daughter had encouraged you to come out here?
Yes, she did. She wanted to see him, and we thought it was a great opportunity to meet him this kind of quieter place.
You guys are both big Tigers fans, I take it?
Huge.
Absolutely.
All right, are you guys sticking with the team even though they've been struggling a little bit of late?
They'll never stop us. Tigers all the way.
Always.
Now, the big question, what did you bring here for Jarrod to sign?
Baseball, the one that I always have them sign, and she brought.
I have a hat that I've had other Tigers sign too.
All right, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Doc here. I found fan of the podcast, Laura. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
What's going on?
Just waiting to meet Saltalamacchia.
Okay, now you came out here. What did you bring for Jarrod to sign?
I brought my ball.
I thought you said you were going to have a glove out here for him to sign.
I was going to have a glove, but I only had $25, so.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So you're a big fan of the Detroit Tigers since how long?
Since I was about 7. Went to a lot of games this year. Met Miggy twice this year, which is pretty cool.
Where'd you meet him?
At the games.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Did you get there early?
Yeah, I got there early, and I actually know one of the photographers.
Okay, very good. Now, you messaged us for the contest to get up front in line to meet Jarrod early, a little bit late, a day late. Do you follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast?
I did, but I didn't see it because I don't have my notifications on.
Okay, so now you know, definitely follow Detroit Podcast. All the notifications with FanaticU, you can get to the contest and things like that.
Yep.
I appreciate your support, very much so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, Vito, what did you think about Doc, man on the street? I could literally go out there and just, a lot of people come to the gym by the studio here. I literally could just turn on my phone and start talking to the people. What'd you think?
First off, what I thought, not even about that, but about the first guy that came on and talked to you, Matt. He said he wanted it signed in the D. That's what I thought of. What did he mean by that, sign in the D? No, I know what he meant, but I thought some bad thoughts right away about what he meant.
Your mind always goes to the gutter.
I know, goes to the gutter, went right to the gutter, but you were the man of the town, huh? You were the toast of the town yourself, hanging out, being the mayor, and I like being the mayor and talking, and we socialized, both you and I, and we got a good amount of people, 15 people to sign up, right, for the email list, too, which was great to see.
Wait, so were you surprised that I got you some audio for your podcast?
You did something good. I appreciate your contributions. Yes, I do. I know I do have a hard time thanking you at times. I know you brought that up, but I do thank you.
I wanted to make sure that
I noticed your.
I literally forgot. Like, were you there? I knew my nephew was there because I was trying to.
No, I wasn't when you were recording those.
Right, exactly. So I was like, okay, nephew, watch how I do it. And I just went up to people because I'm naturally a shy guy, and I went up to him and said, hey, do you know I have a podcast? And I had you seen the shirt and the hat, and I was like,
I like the hat.
Yep.
And I've seen that now. You put it on Twitter. You've posted that. Now, how do I get a hat?
That's it.
How much money do I have to pay for that now?
That's in the works, Vito. You keep doing the good work. That we'll get it. We'll get it taken care of for you. But I got up there, and the people were very nice, and that's what the vibe I got. And it's something that I had spoken on with Jason is that I just felt like it was a very positive vibe. Everybody was kind of in a good spirits. The weather was nice, and just a couple people kind of, just like, no, I don't want to sign up. But everyone else was relatively friendly. We had a good time, and it was all in all a great signing. So let's just keep some hope alive that maybe one move is all it takes, that they could bring a guy here that just does some damage and turns it all around. Remember how excited we all got when the Tigers acquired David Price? We all literally were like...
We got excited, then we had the big letdown in the playoffs there.
But let's have a little hope that, this team is not going to be the same after the All-Star break. There will be some changes.
Absolutely.
And I think that it'll be something where the addition that they bring on might cause that spark, that's something that the fans are gravitating towards to bring them back. They need to do something, because if they stay status quo, this could get ugly real quick.
The division is not wrapped up whatsoever, okay? I'll say that, and you already I think everybody can tell that I don't think that it's wrapped up. But the thing is, if the Indians add some sufficient bats to their lineup, impact bats to the middle of their lineup, that's when it's a scary situation. Becomes a scary situation for the rest of those clubs in the Central competing for the division with the Indians. What do you think? I mean, if they add that potent batter, too, the Indians might take off. They're already 7 games, 7.5 up on the Tigers, and then the White Sox, they're both tied for third. And then the Royals are in sole possession right now of second, who I see I'll still say, I've said it every single podcast, I see them tailing off. But at this point, I don't see the Indians tailing off too much. A little bit now if they don't get the hitters in place that they need. And if Brantley doesn't regain full health, he's been on the shelf for a long, long time now, Brantley, battling issues. So he's got to get righted himself. Because if he can't hit, they're going to struggle there. But that's why it's even more dire than ever before for the Indians, with them winning right now and in first place, that they add a bat or two. If they do, what I'm trying to say is that they could take off in the Central, Doc. What do you think?
I agree. They look good, and they got the pitching. Now they just got to find a couple more consistent bats and to really have that faith. And I think that they're going to add some pieces to really make a run, maybe make it a double in 1 year. All that time in Cleveland with that
the double championship. It could
Cleveland
be, huh?
And the Tribe.
Too much Cleveland sports success right there for my taking, man. I couldn't take it. Couldn't take it all. Good for LeBron. Good for Cleveland with him winning. But hey, Indians winning too. After the Royals won it, I can't take. I'll be on the edge, man. Not doing well. But I wanted to ask you really quick here. We always do the toast of the town, and we talked about you being the guy that was the talk of the town, kind of there, and talking it up. Now, who will you be schmoozing with for the toast of the town this week here on Tigers Talk?
Very interesting. Man, they had a 4-game. You know what I'll do? I'll invite multiple people. I know that.
Can you invite multiple guests? Do you have plus?
No.
Is it?
No.
It's not just a plus one?
You know what?
I thought it was only a plus one here.
You know what? You're right. I'm going to invite one person because I do want to meet him and see what he's done. My toast of the town is going to be Bruce Rondon, a guy that was knocked down in the Tigers organization, worked his way back, and has lost weight and has been relatively productive when he's been called upon. Relatively speaking, a pitcher, a reliever that has been successful this year, and a guy that we're counting on for future support. So I want to talk to Bruce Rondon. Toast of the town. He had a decent week. I think he made an appearance in the game I saw. So he was.
You think he did?
I believe he was. Yeah.
Were you drunk?
No.
No. I know.
I was entertaining a 6-year-old, so I don't remember.
You
exactly.
could. Yeah. I know.
I did a Snapchat actually. He was warming up in the bullpen, came out, and he had a relatively decent week. I guess you could say this toast of the town, the requirements were a little bit lax.
I can tell. A little bit less.
Bruce Rondon, toast of the town.
He gets it. Now, for my buster of the week, it's got to be JV. Come on. I went there Sunday looking forward to a start. I didn't wear his jersey. I have a JV jersey, by the way. Every single time I wore a JV jersey, it seems like he has stunk it up, too. And then I don't even wear it. I thought it'd be good karma. I go there, he gets bombed. Rocked in 4 2/3. He's got to be easily my buster of the week. And, Doc, I mean, for you, who is it? Who's your buster? Do you like my pick there?
That's a great pick. Buster of the week. I guess you'd have to kind of go with Justin Upton. He had a terrible weekend.
But, now we're buds.
You know what?
You're bashing my bud now?
I'm bashing your bud. Justin Upton, Buster of the week.
For Doc, I'll let it happen. I'll let it slide, per se, too. And, Doc, with that, thank you very much. Thank you to Coach Matt Cook, Salle Varsity Baseball skipper. A great time with him today, chatting and catching up with him. He taught me an English class, by the way, too, Matt Cook. You didn't know that, did you? Did you know? Fact right there from yours truly. So, Matt Cook, thank you very much. Congrats to DSL once again. And we'll talk to you next week for episode 47. Have a great week until then, too, guys. Goodbye.